Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Throwaway Citizen, who says, my girlfriend told me about some mean pranks she did to a slower kid in high school. Is it a red flag even though it was a few years ago? And just to give you a few warnings on this one, it does contain extreme bullying, ableism as well, and apparently the mood of it is pretty horrific. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and on the timeline below. Thank you. So I, 24 male, have only known my current girlfriend, 22 female, for about 3 months, but we have great chemistry so far. A few days ago we were talking about some stories we had from high school. She told me about a weird kid in her school that her friends used to mess with. She used to pretend to be interested in being his girlfriend, and then she'd embarrass him by getting him to do something humiliating or showing their private text to other people, etc. Or they'd set up some kind of elaborate prank on him. In the story she told me, she was on a date with him one night in a park, and she told him she wanted him to take off his pants for her. After he did it, her other friends came and took the pants, and everyone drove away, leaving him alone to walk home in his underwear. She told me more stories, but you get the point. It made me sad though, because I got the impression the guy might have been a little mentally disabled or something, because she said that after everything they'd do, he still wouldn't understand that she was in on all these pranks with her other friends. She'd either pretend that had nothing to do with her, or she'd make up some excuse, I guess, and the kid kept falling for it. She really thought it was funny though, like she could barely contain herself while she was telling me this stuff. It's been a few days and it's bothering me, so I figured I'd ask for some advice. I have a feeling this is a huge overreaction. It's just a strange feeling because she seemed incredibly sweet up to this point. But after telling me this story and the lack of remorse, it's difficult to look at her the same way. I'm not perfect by any means, and I feel like I'm being a dick for judging someone about something that happened in high school. But it still bothered me. Thanks for any advice. It's one thing to tell this story and with some self-awareness saying, you know, that she was a terrible person back then and she can't believe she did those things. But the fact, and you know, I still would struggle to look past that in itself. But the fact that she told you this is some like little funny story she had from back in her high school, that says a lot about her character. She's treating it like some kind of fond memory, and it sounded like this person was vulnerable. It's just extremely cruel thing to do. And then there's the fact that she kept doing it over and over by the sounds of it. And look, people can change, they can grow from who they were as people when they were in high school, but that actually requires some sort of self-awareness to be able to do so. And she's shown none of this, and there's no way I'd be able to be with someone like that. I mean, just hearing those stories anyway, and even if they had some remorse, I would still struggle with it in itself. But the fact that she's laughing about it now, yeah, fuck that. But Madame Kitsune says, be honest with yourself here. She repeatedly cultivated a fake romantic interest between herself and her vulnerable person purely to victimize them. She didn't make a spur-of-the-moment error of judgment. Both her and her friends planned this out, laid the groundwork, and then executed it again and again. She didn't just mess around with someone's heart. She went all out to humiliate and harm their mental health. You have no idea how deeply the damage they did to this guy runs, even to this day. People have taken their own life because of the impact of bullying has had on them, and yet she has not had a single shred of remorse. She thinks it's a hoot, a great tale to tell to garner a few giggles. There is something fundamentally wrong with your girlfriend, something you can't fix and could be turned against you one day, should you not meet her expectations somehow. At 3 months in, I'd call this a deal breaker and make my excuses to end things. Actually, even at 3 years in, I'd be out. I wouldn't want to risk raising a family with someone who found such cruelty so amusing, just in case they try passing on their warped ideas at humor onto our kids. Opie says that's an insightful way of putting it. It's just difficult for me to make sense of these actions given everything else I know about her, but you're right. What she did was really horrible. It's hard to find an excuse for it. Complete Entry says, one of my favorite high school memories was explaining to the slow guy that the other kids were not being friendly and were mocking him / fucking with him. It was definitely a laughing at not laughing with situation. He beat the shit out of them the next time they messed with him. I went to the principal and explained what had happened. He didn't get in trouble. I got told to never fucking do that again. Every job I worked in that town, he'd come visit and shop there. Many years later, I worked with his brother, who was not impaired. He hugged me and said that I changed the course of his brother's life. He'd been quiet and bullied until I calmly explained things to him. After that, he became outgoing and confident. He'd ride the bus to go around town and just had a happy, vibrant life. Teenagers do dumb, cruel shit. One of the signs of growing up is leaving that shitty behavior behind. The fact that she seems to look back on treating an impaired person like shit is something like a cherished memory. Run, don't walk. It's in no way an overreaction. She's a cruel, shitty person. Opie says, that's a great story. I just wanted to thank everyone for your advice so far. I have a lot to think about and I'm pretty set on breaking up with her, but as someone else suggested, I do want to talk to her and see what she says if I actually confront her about what she did being wrong. The story she told me made me sad, but the response from all of you guys made me really happy to see so many great people and to know that I wasn't overthinking it. By the way, I can't find the comment now, but someone said she probably teases dogs by holding food over its face. Just wanted to say, you're correct. That's what she did the first time she ate near my dog until I told her to stop. I hate when people do that, but I know a lot of people do, so I didn't think much of it. But seriously, amazing prediction. Thanks for helping connect the dots. So OP did come in with an update and said, hey everyone, first I wanted to say thanks for all the advice you gave me originally. I asked the question thinking I was overreacting, but as I read some of your responses, especially from those who had traumatic experiences themselves, it sort of knocked some sense into me, so I appreciate that. That being said, this was still pretty hard for me, even though we've only been together for 3 months. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. I decided to take the advice of talking to her before breaking up. People wanted to know what the result was, so I tried to briefly give you the gist of it. Last night we hung out for a couple of hours, and to be honest, we had a really great time together, and it was hard for me to even have this conversation at the end of it. I wanted to just move on and ignore the red flag, but I knew it shouldn't be ignored. I brought up the kid she told me about again, but I did it very casually, not like I was going to lecture her or something, so her guard was still down. She started laughing just at the mention of him. She casually told me another story of her friend's antics with him. I then asked her why they liked to mess with him so much. She paused for a second and then kind of giggled and said, I don't know, he was just a douchebag. I asked, why was he a douchebag? Did he do something to make you mad at him? She said not really, he was just so stupid and naive and it was annoying. There was a pause because I didn't really know how to follow up to that answer. Then she continued and said, exact words, he had no purpose. He was just there to make people laugh. It made me really sad to hear that because I wanted there to be some explanation that reduced the cruelty of the situation, but there wasn't. I got kind of angry and just told her that everything she told me was absolutely horrific, that she should think about how she would feel if someone did these things to her. I said that to torture an innocent person just because it's entertaining is a totally inhuman thing, and the fact that she still has the same mindset today shows how immature she is on top of it. I'm normally not harsh like that, but it just came out. While I was talking, she gave me a look of total incredulity, like she thought I was joking or going insane or something. I told her I can't continue a relationship with somebody like this, even though we had such a great thing up to this point. I actually had to convince her I was serious and not joking around. She thought the real reason I wanted to break up was this minor thing that happened a couple of weeks ago. She just couldn't believe I was ending the relationship because of this. Once she knew I was serious, she got extremely angry, saying that I was just getting off on shaming her because I wanted to abuse her and I have no right to talk to her like that and so on. She called me all kinds of names and said how she never liked me anyway and how I'm a loser, etc, etc. But other than that, we parted ways smoothly. I got some angry texts this morning which I'm saving for a while just in case. So there it is. I honestly feel better already because I know it's for the better, especially considering her reaction. I figured I'd give you this update since everyone seemed pretty interested in the situation. Thanks again. The irony of her towards the end there saying that you were getting off on shaming her after all the shit that she's done. An absolute horrible person at 22 years old having this kind of mindset. Oh, it's just disgusting, isn't it? Part of me does ever wonder if one day in future years you ever look back and think, that was a fucked up thing I did. But, at 22 already, you just struggle to see it, right? But good on OP for breaking up. There's no way I would have continued that relationship. But how about you guys? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Entitled People subreddit from Head Full of Pain, who says, entitled siblings are convinced mum has a secret stash of money. My brother, sister-in-law, sister and brother-in-law feel as if mum should give them a house and property and move into an old folks home, or buy them a house. My mum is almost 80. She has all of her faculties about her. She is well educated and very spry. It's mostly my sister and brother causing all the trouble. A few years ago, my stepdad passed. He was a great guy and good to my mum. My older brother and my younger sister are convinced that mum has secret money left to her when stepdad died. At first, they thought she had cash hidden in the house, so they'd visit her, and one would keep her busy while the other would snoop. Then they convinced themselves that she had a secret bank account somewhere. No, she doesn't. I do most of her banking and set up her accounts for autopay. She owns her house free and clear. After Dad died, I orchestrated a GoFundMe to get her house paid off. We were successful. They do not know that I did this. They were kept out of the loop for fear they'd pressure her into giving them some of the money, so they have no idea how she paid her house off. Only that she paid it off. They really ramped up the pressure after she paid off the house. Now they are convinced more than ever that she has a secret stash of money. Then we told them about the GoFundMe for her house, hoping they would back off mum. But they lost it. They wanted an accounting of the money, and they wanted anything that was in that account turned over to them, threatening to take me to court for elder financial abuse. Now she only has to pay the monthly bills. I set up her autopay so I know exactly how much money she has. Enough to live, but not to have any fun. So I pay her water and cell phone bills for her. I transfer the money to her account every month. They have each told her she needs to give them money for a down payment on a house since she refuses to give up her home of 35 years. If she won't give them any money, then give up an acre to each of them. How are they entitled to her money? She receives less than 4K a month to live on. I cannot convince them that she doesn't have a secret bank account. The thing that they do not understand is that he is not our bio father, and he didn't raise us. They married when we were all out of the house. No matter how many times I point this out, they say that it doesn't matter, since they called him Dad. It's been a few years, but they still bring it up often. Mum called me last night. She was tired and had worked hard today in a high tunnel. Both of them have been calling for the last few weeks, up in the pressure. The last time they brought it up, they talked about splitting a house and property between the two of them, also mentioning a secret bank account. There are 5 siblings altogether. But since the other 3, houses and careers, are doing better than these 2, they think they're entitled to a home and property after she passes. What they do not know is that she left her house and 5 acres to an animal rescue / activist group that she is very active in. I know because I'm the executor of the will. She has asked me not to tell them. How do I get them to back off of her without telling them there's not a snowball's chance in hell that they're getting anything? She does not want them to know about her will, for fear they will harass the animal rescue activist group. ROP in this. What a delightful bunch of kids they sound to be, right? I mean, ransacking their 80-year-old mother's house looking for this imaginary cash, demanding that she hand over her house and threatening lawsuits. What the fuck? But I think the sad truth of something like this is when you got people like that, they're not going to back off easily. They're not going to back off with, by just telling them that you need to back off. It's either going to take them facing some kind of legal consequences or, your mother actually revealing this will and saying, you're not getting nothing. But even then, I couldn't see that stopping them. Just from the pure entitlement of this is mad. Imagine trying to evict your own mum from her life because they feel entitled to all this stuff. It's just such a wild mindset. Can you imagine their faces when they find out that the decision for mum's assets to be going to this animal rescue? Whew, dearie me, they are going to explode. So people were asking questions in the comments. Someone said, can OP's mother look into getting a restraining order and blocking the siblings' numbers? And OP says, I've mentioned that to her several times. She worked in the legal system for a few decades. and understands how it works. She's not interested in cutting them off in any way at all. She dearly loves all of her children. Another commenter says, you might consider reaching out to your local version of Adult Protective Services or other elder social services within your county or state. If you think she's at risk for fraud or other scamming influences, they can advise how to protect her or at least document things should it escalate later. Opie says, that's what somebody else advised. I didn't know that you could call them to ask for advice. I thought you only called them to report abuse. This is great advice and I will be doing this first thing in the morning. Someone said, why is Opie sharing this information with her siblings about their mother? Opie says, I only share what she allows me to share. My sister's the youngest and my brother's the oldest. The two have always been the golden children. I'm smack dab in the middle, so I'm the people pleaser. I try to keep everybody happy all of the time. She really doesn't want to cut contact with them because then she feels she'll lose contact with the grandkids and the great-grandkids. She doesn't want that on their conscience when she passes. My mum is intelligent and well-educated, but she's also extremely stubborn. Once she's made up her mind, it's almost impossible to change it. Another commenter says, make sure a lawyer looks at the will. In some jurisdictions, leaving a family member out of a will entirely, with no mention of why they are left out, can open it up to being contested. In some places, you leave a token amount to demonstrate that they weren't forgotten. Opie says several people have mentioned this and I will go over that with her tomorrow, and then we'll contact the lawyer that created the will and see about adding them and giving them $1 each. Commenter says, did the witnesses to her signing the will also sign self-proving affidavits that she is of sound mind and was not under any duress when she signed the will and that she knows what's in it? One of the ways that greedy relatives successfully contest wills is through the witnesses. They make courts track down the witnesses to either clearly remember your mother signing the will or not remember her and possibly tossing out the will. There's also the strong possibility that the witnesses are dead or have moved and cannot be found, putting the validity of the will in jeopardy. Witnesses to signing wills are often employees in the lawyer's office who don't know you and will have a difficult time testifying in court that they remember you and your state of mind when you signed a will. And then they shared a link. Opie said, yes, we made sure she was well covered in the aspect because we knew there was going to be issues down the road. And to be honest with you, the house is in disarray. It's falling apart around her. It needs to be razored. It's the property that's worth real money. It's in a prime location in Alaska. Commenter says you need a really good estate lawyer. Get power of attorney over everything concerning your mum. Maintain detailed financial records and transactions with your mum's money. That way they can't accuse you of financial mismanagement. Hope you're on all of her accounts. Your mum needs to go low contact with them. If you have not done so, put up hidden cameras around your mum's house and place nanny cams in the house with a link to all cameras to your phone. The stress could cause her to have a heart attack or stroke. Take care. Opie says this is all great advice. We do have cameras up. That's how we caught them snooping. Unfortunately, after they know there's cameras. Yes, my name is on all of her accounts, and I do keep accounting of everything online on my computer, which they do not have access to. Someone asks what's high tunnel, and Opie says it's a type of greenhouse. It's huge and it's like a tunnel. She got it through a government program. Opie on her mother and the charity. Opie says she's an old farm girl and just loves animals. Right now she has 3 husky pit bull mixes, about a dozen cats she fosters and helps to place them in permanent homes. We grew up with parrots, chickens, geese, ducks, pigs, an occasional goat, lots of dogs, lots of cats and aquariums. She used to be one of the premier bird rescues, and we have helped foster and rehabilitate crows and eagles. Someone says OP should change the locks. OP says, that's a good idea. It's time for her to get new locks on her doors. I'm going to text my husband and see what he thinks, and because he can just change them for her. Thank you. Someone says about any chance that Opie's siblings were the golden children as of today. Opie says the youngest was definitely babied. She was born after a miscarriage and she was a twin. The twin died at birth. Commenter says, these are the kind of people who will break into the property and steal any paperwork looking for bank accounts and safety deposit boxes and dump the closets and mattresses looking for hidden safes. Talk to your mum about distributing any personal gifts before she passes, like giving away jewelry she wants to go to specific grandchildren, etc., as Christmas or graduation gifts. Resign yourself to this not ending well, and consider security cameras for your property too. Opie says this, I firmly believe that they would try to steal paperwork if they could find it. Luckily, we'd moved out her major paperwork after Dad had died. It's in a safety deposit box. Opie says, and the reason for the GoFundMe, was her mother destitute? Opie says, yes, she was. His first wife took almost everything. She had let his insurance expire. Big mistake, and she's behind on a reverse mortgage and was going to lose the house for less than 20k. I tried to reason with the title company, but they wanted a home for the land. Her land alone is worth a pretty penny, probably close to $250,000. I set up a GoFundMe to keep her in her home, and at the time, I figured would sell everything later for her if she needed it to live on. But she is very active and very spry still. Everyone who donated to the GoFundMe was other family and friends. One close family friend who had worked with my mum for a decade put up 10k herself. I donated 2,500. This was the easiest way to reach her family in the States at the time. You try living on 4k a month in a remote village in Alaska. So it was 3 months later that Opie did update the post and says so many things have changed since my first post. My mum became very ill with vertigo, edema, and went into AFib. She went 3 days in the hospital. They think there is an issue with her pacemaker, but she and her doctor also suspect a high blood pressure meds. She needs to go to a specialist. She heads there tomorrow. During that time, the cat rescue that she was leaving her house and her property to basically turned their back on her and didn't go in to help her with the animals that she was caring for. Animals that were dropped off by the rescue, she had to scramble to find outside help and pay for it when the rescue was supposed to help her. Apparently the rescue had lost a large grant, and they are now telling fosters that they're on their own. My mum is feisty, and that pissed her off, so she decided she's not leaving them the property and house anymore. She decided to make me executor of the will with a stipulation that I will sell the property and divide the proceeds among her grandkids and great-grandkids. I will follow her wishes to the letter. She has directed me not to tell any of them what she plans, to let them think that it is going to a rescue. As for you all asking about her income, she lives remotely in Alaska. Her closest store is 35 miles away, one way. If she wants a Walmart, she has to drive 70 miles one way. Her electricity alone is $600 to $800 a month, plus groceries are outrageous. She also has a lot of animals. They keep her alive and happy. She gives 10% to her church and another 10% to charities. She has to pay for car payments, auto insurance, house insurance, water bill, and gas for the truck. If there is anything left, she puts it on account at the vet, so she has a buffer in case one of her animals needs the vet. Someone says, probably stating the obvious, but if her will states the property and house to go to the rescue, she must change the will. Opie says she knows. She's in the process. Commodore says odd timing that her house should change now. Have the entitleds been visiting? Opie says no. We're pretty sure the change was brought on by a high blood pressure meds. She's going to a heart specialist tomorrow. Someone says if she's struggling for money, buy the donations. Opie says her church replaced her French drain, replaced her hot water heater, and bought her a hospital bed, so she firmly believes in tithes. As for the other charity, it's animal rescues. She doesn't always give them money, but she does a lot. But the commenter says you'll never convince them there wasn't a stash of money. If they can't find it while she's living, they'll accuse you of stealing it after she's gone. There is nothing that will tear apart a family faster than money. Another commenter says, do get a letter from her doctor that at this time she's of sound mind. This may come in handy should the validity of her will be questioned by your siblings. And people in the comments after this were just stunned by the siblings being like vultures, just waiting to get their hands on that money. But what do you guys make after this situation? I know a family just like that. I'm going to write out this story soon because I want you guys to hear it. That family was, they were just waiting for the mothers to pass so they can get hold of money, and they were questioning how things were going to be split before and everything between themselves, not with the mother. And they were just waiting, and there was this whole hoo-ha about who was going to have the sofa, and they were trying to get out the door, and they was pulling it between. There was absolute chaos. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, at the very end of the video, there'll be a couple of playlists there that you can click on, and it will automatically scroll through all the videos for you. So you can crack on doing what you're doing, and those videos will keep rolling in the background there. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.